Have you ever found yourself in the quiet of the night, maybe trying to drift off to sleep, but your mind is just anything but quiet?
Oh, definitely. That relentless hum.
Yeah, a constant stream of commentary, this like never-ending internal conversation. Or maybe you're trying to focus on something important, a task.
And your thoughts are just ping-ponging all over the place.
Exactly, scattered, pulling you in a dozen different directions. That right there is the universal experience of the voice in our head, you know? Mm-hmm. The stories we tell ourselves, often without even realizing you're doing it.
It's a truly fascinating phenomenon, isn't it? This internal narrator that just tags along with us through every waking moment. And for so many of us, I think, when we face challenges, our immediate instinct is to look outward. We're often pretty quick to point fingers at external stuff.
Oh, I know that feeling well. You know, blaming situations, other people, or just chalking it up to bad luck.
Yeah, the if-onlys.
Totally. If only this hadn't happened, or if they had just done that differently, everything would be fine. But what if that whole narrative, that familiar story, is kind of missing the point?
What if the real struggle isn't actually out there?
Right. What if the real battlefield, the true source of our struggles, isn't about trying to change impossible external things, but it's right here, inside our own heads? What if the real power, the lever for change, lies in our thoughts?
And that's really the core insight our sources are bringing to light today. It challenges that deeply ingrained assumption, you know, that our reality is dictated mostly by what happens to us.
Right.
Instead, it suggests that our internal world, our thoughts, how we interpret things, the stories we build, that's the most profound sculptor of our experience, maybe far more than any external factor.
And that is precisely our mission for this deep dive today. We're going to explore just how profoundly our thoughts really do shape our reality. We'll peel back the curtain on the mechanics of this internal landscape.
And more importantly, how we can learn to navigate it.
Yes. Not with brute force or this feeling of endless struggle, but with, well, finesse maybe. Intentionality, a gentle guiding hand.
Sounds much better than fighting yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This deep dive is really about equipping you with the tools to cultivate greater confidence, maybe unlock some remarkable personal growth just by rethinking how you think. So get ready to shift your perspective a bit.
Well, let's dive in.
Okay, let's really unpack this first big idea. Our minds are well, to put it mildly, relentlessly active.
That's one way to put it. A constant narration.
Yeah, it's this constant, often overwhelming narration of everything we experience. What we're doing right now, replaying moments from yesterday, or even like creating these super detailed scenarios for the future.
Oh, the future scenarios. Those can really get you.
Tell me about it. And our sources highlight that this incessant internal monologue, this just continuous stream of commentary, it can be incredibly draining. It really leads to this profound sense of being, well, utterly overwhelmed.
It's like having a busy news channel running in your head 24/7.
That's a great analogy, even when you're trying to relax.
Mm-hmm. And it's a truly universal experience. You mentioned trying to fall asleep. That's such a classic example. You close your eyes, you want quiet, you want rest, and bam, your mind decides it's the perfect time to open its internal filing cabinet of worries.
Exactly.
And a single thought, maybe about something totally trivial, you forgot an email you didn't send, an errand you put off.
Yep, been there.
It can just multiply so quickly. That one thought might spark a worry about, consequences, which then triggers a memory of some past failure, which leads to this cascade of self-doubt.
It spirals.
Totally spirals. Suddenly, that little thought branches out into 10, then 20. And before you know it, you're caught in a full-blown mental storm. Neuroscientists sometimes call it the default mode network, right? Yeah. This part of our brain that kicks in when we're not focused on something specific. It just ruminates. Mind wanders, tells stories about ourselves.
It's like its job is to generate narrative, even if it's not helpful.
Pretty much. It's a built-in narrative generator.
And the sources give us such relatable examples of this mental overdrive. They really show how much energy it consumes. It's like a broken record sometimes, isn't it?
Definitely.
You find yourself replaying, embarrassing moments from years ago, analyzing every awkward pause, every word you stumbled over. Mm-hmm. Even though it's long gone and probably everyone else forgot about it instantly.
Or dwelling on missed deadlines, feeling that same pang of regret or anxiety all over again.
Even if you fixed it.
Even if you fixed it. And then there's the future worries, that relentless what-if loop. It just pulls you into these scenarios that haven't even happened, probably never will.
But they feel terrifyingly real in your head.
Exactly, causing actual physical tension, real stress.
And the exhaustion from that. It's profound. And the sources point out it's not necessarily from the actual demands of life, the difficult circumstances themselves.
Right. It's specifically from the mind's incessant narration, the commentary track.
Yeah. Think about it. Physically, you might be totally at rest, sitting on the couch, lying in bed.
But internally, your brain is running a marathon. This constant churning, this internal storytelling, it just consumes a huge amount of mental energy, leaves you feeling completely depleted, even if you haven't, lifted a finger.
It's like having tons of apps running in the background on your phone.
That's a perfect analogy. Even if you're not actively using them, they're just draining your batteries, slowing everything down. Our minds are kind of similar. That constant background activity really saps our vitality.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because this leads us straight to a foundational truth presented in our sources, a pivotal insight that kind of changes everything. Our thoughts shape our reality. And this isn't just like a nice quote or some abstract idea. It's the actual mechanism. It's how our minds construct our daily experience moment by moment.
It really is a game changer when you grasp it. This insight powerfully differentiates that internal influence from, say, external factors, the actual circumstances you face, or what other people do.
Right, the stuff we usually focus on.
Exactly. The source really emphasizes that it's not primarily what happens to us that determines our reality, but it's how we interpret everything around us.
Okay, can you give an example of that?
Sure. Think about two people facing the exact same external event. Let's say a sudden job layoff, totally unexpected.
Okay.
Person A might interpret it as, I'm a failure. This proves I'm not good enough. My career is over. That internal narrative, that story, it could lead to feeling really depressed, inaction, and their perceived reality becomes one of hopelessness.
I can see that.
But person B, facing the exact same layoff, might interpret it differently. Maybe as, okay, this is an unexpected challenge. It's actually an opportunity to reassess my career path, maybe learn some new skills, find something that's a better fit.
A growth mindset take.
Exactly. That narrative, focused on growth and possibility, will likely lead to resilience, proactive job searching, and their perceived reality becomes one of new opportunities, the external event, identical. But their internal narrative sculpts vastly different realities and, crucially, different subsequent actions. Your perception, the story you tell yourself about events, that becomes the fundamental determinant of your personal reality.
Wow. So if we follow that thread, this revelation is incredibly empowering, isn't it?
Hugely empowering.
Because if our interpretation, our internal story, is the main shaper of our reality, then the focus shifts, right? It shifts from trying to control the outside world, manipulating circumstances, changing other people, which is often impossible and super frustrating,
Totally. A recipe for frustration.
to internal mastery. It encourages us to fundamentally reevaluate how we approach problems, how we face challenges. It invites us to look inward first.
Yes. It transforms you from feeling like a passive recipient of whatever life throws at you.
A victim of circumstance.
Right. Into potentially an active co-creator of your experience. It suggests you have a significant degree of agency over your own experience, probably way more than you initially believe. So instead of feeling tossed about by external forces, you become more like the architect of your internal world. And by doing that, you influence your perceived reality. This reframing, it just immediately opens up new possibilities for solutions that are entirely within your own power. The question changes from, how do I change the world, to maybe, how do I change my relationship with the world?
That's a powerful shift. Okay, so now we understand, or are starting to grasp, this profound power of our internal dialogue and how it shapes reality. The next crucial step is, well, how do we engage with it effectively?
Right, what do we do about it?
Yeah, and here's the core idea from our sources. The most effective way isn't through forceful control, like wrestling your thoughts into submission.
Which usually backfires anyway.
Totally. But instead, it's through gentle guidance, adopting an adaptive, flowing approach.
This concept is just beautifully and profoundly captured in that quote from Bruce Lee our sources highlight. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water.
Such a powerful quote.
It really is. It's one of those statements that, once you unpack it, offers a complete paradigm shift for how we relate to our own mental processes. He wasn't suggesting literal emptiness, obviously.
Right, not a blank slate.
No, but rather a state of mental fluidity, non-resistance.
That quote just resonates so deeply when you really think about water. It doesn't resist, does it? It doesn't fight against the boundaries it finds. You pour water into a cup,
It becomes the cup.
Poured into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. It just adapts to whatever container it's in, takes its shape without losing what it is. It doesn't try to like force its way through a rock.
It flows around it, finds the path of least resistance.
Exactly. And that principle, the sources argue, is precisely how we should approach our own mental landscape. Our minds, like water, are naturally adaptable. They want to flow.
Absolutely. And think about our common, often counterproductive human tendency trying to control or freeze thoughts.
Yeah, stuff that thought.
Exactly. When an unwelcome or stressful thought pops up, our knee-jerk reaction is often to try and suppress it, push it away, or maybe rigidly cling to a different thought, even if that's unhelpful. But the source explains why this is often futile and incredibly exhausting. It's like trying to physically hold water in a fixed shape without a container. It just slips through your fingers. Or if you squeeze too hard,
It splashes everywhere, makes a mess.
right. This forceful control creates internal resistance, a mental tug of war. It leads to immense mental fatigue and, paradoxically, often intensifies the very thoughts we're trying to get rid of. The more you try not to think about the pink
The
elephant.
more you see pink elephants everywhere.
Exactly. It pops back, often with greater insistence.
So the objective isn't really to eliminate thinking entirely or force some kind of complete mental silence, which, let's be honest, for most of us feels impossible and just leads to frustration.
Right. It's not about achieving monk-like emptiness overnight.
No, the goal, as the sources put it, is to gently shift our mental flow. It's subtle, but it's a profoundly powerful distinction. It moves us away from this battleground mentality where we're constantly fighting our own thoughts.
To one of gentle navigation, mindful direction.
Yeah.
And the nuance here is so crucial. Guiding and redirecting thoughts. That's fundamentally different from suppressing them. Suppression is an act of force. It requires constant effort and often leads to that rebound effect where the unwanted thought comes back even stronger. Guiding, though, that requires conscious awareness, a gentle noticing of where your mind is currently flowing, acknowledging it without judgment, and then a subtle, intentional nudge towards a more constructive or peaceful direction.
Like being a quiet river guide, not a dam builder.
That's a great way to put it. Gently steering the boat in a strong current rather than trying to stop the current itself.
And when you think about what gently shifting looks like in practice, it really connects to concepts like mindful awareness, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Just observing your thoughts without getting hooked, letting them pass like clouds in the sky, acknowledging they're there, but not letting them carry you away downstream.
Or conscious reframing.
Right, where you deliberately choose a different, maybe more empowering perspective on a situation. So instead of getting stuck in, oh, I made a huge mistake on that report, I'm so incompetent.
Which is where the mind can easily go.
Oh, yeah. Conscious reframing would be deliberately choosing to think maybe, okay, that report taught me a valuable lesson about attention to detail. I know exactly what to double check next time. I'm actually growing from this.
It's about cultivating mental agility, allowing your mind to be flexible, adaptive, not rigid and resistant.
It's like a mental dance, maybe, where you lead with intention rather than trying to wrestle your thoughts into submission. It feels like a far more sustainable and less exhausting path to mental clarity.
A much more graceful approach.
Okay, so we've explored the inner storm, the mental chatter, and the power of guiding our minds like water. But here's another powerful layer that I think gets overlooked a lot. The external-internal link.
Ah, yes. The environment.
Our physical environment plays this really significant, often underestimated role in shaping our mental energy, our focus, and ultimately our capacity for productive thought.
This is such a critical point because we tend to compartmentalize things, don't we? We think of our minds as totally separate from our physical surroundings, like they operate in some kind of vacuum.
Yeah, my mind is just in here.
Right. But as the source material brilliantly illustrates, they are deeply intertwined. Your environment is like this silent, constant influencer of your internal state. It's either supporting your mental flow or creating friction.
And the source shares this really compelling personal anecdote that brings it to life. I think anyone who's ever tried to sit down and focus will relate.
The writer's block story.
Yeah. It describes sitting at a desk, trying to write, feeling that classic frustrating writer's block, just a blank brain, as the source puts it, even though the intention, the motivation to work is there.
You're sitting there, you want to do it, but the words just won't come. Your thoughts feel stuck. muddy. You're just staring at that blinking cursor.
Oh, the blinking cursor of doom. It's so incredibly relatable.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of blocked energy is so common and frustrating. You have the motivation, you know what you need to do, maybe the deadline's looming, but the mental clarity, the ability to string thoughts together, it just isn't there.
Like the engine's running, you've got gas, but the car won't move?
Exactly. It's this distinct feeling of mental inertia. It feels totally insurmountable sometimes.
But then, and here's the powerful contrast, the exact same brain, the exact same task,
Okay.
suddenly led to nonstop productivity, words flowing effortlessly. Why? Because the environment shifted.
In this case, to a quiet cafe.
Right. It was like flipping a switch. The internal block just dissolved simply by changing the external setting. No change in the person's knowledge or ability, just the space.
And this anecdote really synthesizes into a core principle from the source. Your environment shapes your mental energy. That's a critical takeaway. It moves beyond just, try harder or personal discipline.
Right. It's not just about willpower.
No, it points to a tangible, actionable leverage point in our lives. It's about making strategic changes to your surroundings.
Which directly implies the huge importance of creating the right space for our minds to thrive. It's not just about forcing yourself to concentrate. It's about strategic design.
And if we dig into the why behind this,
Sure.
It makes a lot of sense. Environmental factors, noise levels, visual cues, distractions, even things like lighting and temperature, they all directly influence our cognitive load.
Cognitive load. Explain that a bit.
It's basically the amount of mental effort required to process information at any given time. Our brain has finite attentional resources, right? Think of it like RAM on a computer. Every external stimulus, a loud TV, a messy desk piled with unrelated stuff, the constant ding of notifications, even bad lighting requires a little sliver of that mental RAM. When too many things compete for your attention, it increases your cognitive load.
So your brain is working harder just to filter things out.
Exactly, it's juggling too much. But a calm, organized, or maybe even a stimulating but focused environment that can significantly reduce the cognitive load. It frees up your mental RAM for the actual task at hand. It helps facilitate that state of flow where focus feels effortless and thoughts connect easily.
So the environment directly impacts our ability to settle our minds and direct our attention effectively. It really influences our mental flow.
Profoundly.
It's powerful to consider, isn't it? Think about your own environments right now. Your workspace, your home, even the places you go to relax. Are they supporting your mental energy or draining it?
It's a great question to ask yourself.
And how might just subtle changes, clearing your desk, finding a quiet corner, changing the lighting, maybe putting on some focus music, how might that impact your daily mental state? It draws such a direct connection to how you can immediately start applying this in your own life, creating a more productive, maybe more peaceful mind.
Little changes can make a big difference.
Okay, so building on this understanding, our inner dialogue, the influence of environment, we arrive at this next really powerful idea, actively designing our mental approach.
Being intentional about it.
Exactly. It's about consciously shaping the internal questions we ask ourselves and embracing small, gentle changes as the pathway, the way to get from feeling stuck to experiencing real, authentic growth.
This is where that concept of conscious design really comes into its own. The sources bring back that directive. Shape the flow.
Shape the flow. I like that. It feels active.
It is active. It's an intentional process of influencing your mental state. Kind of like a landscape architect designs a garden, right? Creating the conditions for growth, not forcing it. It underlines this understanding that our thoughts are responsive. They react to rhythm, cues, energy, not force.
That distinction feels really important. Rhythm, cues, energy, not force.
It's profound because it means you don't have to wrestle your mind into submission or constantly battle yourself. Instead, you create the optimal conditions, the internal ecosystem, for the mental states you want to arise more naturally. You're planting seeds of intentionality.
So it encourages a more intuitive approach, less rigid, less exhausting maybe.
Definitely less exhausting. It's like being a skilled gardener who understands what each plant needs, the right soil, the right light, the right water, rather than just trying to yank them into shape. You're designing the ecosystem for your thoughts to flourish, allowing them to follow a more natural, productive current.
So it's about continuous, gentle calibration. That builds momentum over time rather than these big, forceful pushes.
Precisely. Consistent, small adjustments, aligned with how the mind naturally works, are far more effective than sporadic, forceful attempts at control. It's understanding the subtle currents of your inner world and guiding them gracefully, not trying to dam them up.
And this leads to a truly critical shift in self-talk that the Source proposes, moving away from that often self-defeating question.
What's wrong with me?
Ugh, yeah. That question, it usually leads straight to judgment, self-criticism, stagnation. Traps you in negativity.
It really does.
Instead, we're encouraged to ask a far more empowering, proactive question. What does my mind need to move forward?
And the effectiveness of changing that question, it's profoundly impactful. It instantly shifts you from judgment and feeling stuck
To curiosity.
yes, curiosity and problem solving. When you ask, what's wrong with me? You're basically assuming there's a flaw. It shuts down creative solutions, reinforces a negative self-image. Your brain starts looking for defects, and guess what?
Yeah.
It'll find them. But asking, what does my mind need to move forward? That's an invitation. It's an act of self-compassion, really. It prompts you to become a detective of your own mental landscape. What resources, what strategies, maybe even just what kind of break does my mind need right now?
Maybe it just needs 5 minutes away from the screen.
Yeah.
Or walk outside. Or a glass of water.
Exactly. Or just a moment of silence. This fundamental reframing cultivates a growth-oriented mindset. It moves you from self-criticism to self-coaching, from being stuck to actively seeking solutions.
And if you explore that further, this reframing doesn't just help with productivity, does it? It fundamentally builds self-compassion.
Absolutely.
You're treating your mind like a partner that needs support and understanding, not some enemy you have to conquer or a problem you have to fix.
Which naturally builds immense resilience when you face challenges, because instead of getting stuck in self-blame, you're constantly looking for adaptive solutions. Every mental block becomes a clue, an opportunity to learn what your mind truly needs.
And this leads directly into the Source's really powerful assertion that this gentle, intentional approach, focusing on what your mind needs, that's the moment growth begins. You're not stuck anymore, you're shifting.
It signifies that fundamental change in state, from feeling immobile and frustrated to dynamic progress, active transformation. It's the moment you reclaim agency over your inner world.
And the beauty of it, as our sources really emphasize, is the importance of incremental progress. Small shifts lead to big changes.
One gentle change at a time.
Right. It stresses that this profound transformation happens one gentle change at a time. It advocates for sustainable, unpressured transformation, not some frantic, overwhelming overhaul. It's building momentum through consistency, not just bursts of intensity. Makes it feel much more achievable, much more lasting.
Precisely. Building momentum through consistency rather than intensity. Think about identifying those small shifts in your daily routine. It could be as simple as, like you said, taking a 5-minute walk when you feel overwhelmed.
Or consciously choosing calming music instead of distracting news during a break.
Or dedicating just 1 minute each morning to mindful breathing before you dive into the day. It's about subtly shaping the space around them. Not just your physical space, but your mental and emotional space too.
Gentle, deliberate adjustments.
Yeah. And psychologically, this aligns with the idea of identity-based habits. You're not just doing a task, you're becoming the kind of person who nurtures their mind. These seemingly minor choices, they add up. Over time, they accumulate into significant transformations, shifting your default mental state towards more calm, more focus, more clarity.
Okay, so for our final segment, let's bring all these powerful threads together. We're moving from that potential chaos of an untamed mind.
The mental storm we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Towards the profound calm and quiet confidence that can emerge when we truly understand and learn to work with our inner world. And here's the core idea. True success, real consistency, deep, unshakable confidence. They emerge not just from sheer motivation, which can be so fickle.
Comes and goes, right?
Totally. But from cultivating harmonious mental rhythm and building supportive habits that naturally align your thoughts and your actions.
This really challenges a pervasive societal belief, doesn't it? We're constantly told, if you just had more motivation, if you just wanted it enough, if you just pushed harder, then you'd achieve everything.
The hustle culture message.
Right. But our sources introduce this counterintuitive yet really powerful insight that flips that. Often, it's about mental rhythm. This shifts the focus from that elusive, often fleeting emotional state of high motivation.
Which you can't just summon on demand.
No. To a more stable, predictable internal flow that you can actually consciously cultivate.
Exactly. And the analysis here is key, I think, for anyone listening who struggles with consistency. The most consistent people aren't the most motivated.
That's such a liberating thought.
Isn't it? They're not operating on some endless wellspring of burning desire every single day, leaping out of bed with boundless energy. That's not sustainable for most people. Instead, they've simply built supportive habits.
And that distinction is incredibly freeing. Because unlike motivation, which waxes and wanes, habits are learnable, they're buildable, they're far more reliable.
They automate the behaviors you want. They reduce the need for constant willpower, making consistent action feel more natural, less effortful.
And this leads to a really natural, almost inevitable progression. When thoughts and actions align, confidence grows naturally.
That synergy, it creates powerful momentum.
Yeah, when your internal narrative, your thoughts, are in sync with what you're actually doing. There's no internal resistance, no self-sabotage, no mental friction. It's like a well-oiled machine, mind and body working in harmony towards a common goal.
And that alignment produces this deep sense of internal coherence, which feels like the bedrock of genuine confidence.
Totally.
And the source gives us the profound statement that completely redefines how we usually think about discipline. It says, discipline is born from flow, not pressure.
Wow. That's powerful too, because we often associate discipline with this grim, effortful struggle, right? Forcing ourselves, white-knuckling our way through things with sheer willpower.
Yeah, something you have to impose on yourself.
But the source suggests that true, sustainable discipline, it emerges almost effortlessly when your mind is in that state of flow, when your thoughts are aligned, when you're working with your mental rhythm, not against it.
So progress feels smooth, almost effortless.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast to that forced, effortful feeling of progress that comes from just relying on pressure or willpower alone, which ultimately isn't sustainable. Think about like a skilled musician playing a complex piece. Their discipline isn't about forcing the notes, it's about practicing until the music flows from them effortlessly.
Or a swimmer gliding through the water versus someone fighting the current.
Exactly. One is flow, the other is pressure. And only one leads to true, sustainable speed and grace.
And this brings us right to the definition of confidence itself. The sources challenge those typical portrayals by asserting, confidence isn't loud, it's calm.
We often picture confidence as being boisterous, right? Outwardly assertive, maybe even aggressive, needing to be seen and heard.
The loudest person in the room.
Yeah. But the deeper understanding offered here is that true, authentic confidence is about knowing your mind is your partner, not your enemy.
An internal alliance.
That's it. That internal alliance is the bedrock of calm, enduring strength. It's not about proving yourself to the world or needing external validation all the time. It's about having this unwavering trust in your own internal processes, even when things get difficult.
You've cultivated a relationship with your mind where it supports you, rather than sabotaging you with constant criticism or self-doubt.
And that inner calm allows you to navigate challenges from a place of grounded strength, rather than, say, reactive anxiety.
And if we just sort of extrapolate on that, the long-term implications of cultivating this partnership with your mind seem enormous.
Huge.
It leads to much greater resilience when setbacks happen, right? Because your inner voice becomes one of support, curiosity, problem solving, not criticism and blame.
It fosters deep self-acceptance too, knowing that even when your mind is noisy or challenging, you have the tools to guide it back towards balance.
Ultimately, it feels like the foundation for sustained personal growth that feels natural and deeply fulfilling, rather than this constant, exhausting uphill battle against yourself.
Beautifully put. So the takeaway message here, if your mind has been noisy lately, if that internal chatter feels overwhelming, just remember, you're not broken.
You're just human.
Exactly. It's a universal experience. It's a sign of an active working mind. Everyone faces this.
And like water, you possess this innate ability to adapt, to flow, to shift. The real power lies not in trying to control every single thought, forcing it down,
but in consciously shaping the space around them, gently guiding the currents of your mind, allowing them to flow in a direction that actually serves you.
Ask better questions. Shift your perspective from judgment to curiosity. Gently guide that flow, and trust that every small shift really does matter.
These aren't just minor tweaks, they're fundamental reorientations of your inner compass. They build profound, lasting change over time.
Because here's that profound chain reaction, the one that builds your entire experience of life. How you think shapes how you feel.
How you feel shapes how you act.
And those actions, repeated consistently day after day, they ultimately build the very fabric of your life. It all starts right there, in the mind.
So considering how your thoughts build your life, here's something to ponder. What intentional space or environment can you begin to design within your own mind starting today, even if your physical world stays exactly the same?
Designing the inner space.
Yeah. What subtle, gentle shift can you make in your internal landscape right now to foster a bit more clarity, maybe more calm, more of that quiet confidence? Perhaps it's just a moment of mindful breathing, or consciously reframing one challenging thought, or simply asking yourself gently, what does my mind need right now?
We hope this deep dive gave you some clarity, maybe some calm, and definitely some actionable insights. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep designing that incredible inner world of yours. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.